Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling a huge challenge that every founder faces. How do you actually make your product stand out? In a sea of competitors, how do you get noticed? We're going to walk through the exact strategy you need to cut through all that noise and really connect with your customers. So let's kick things off by looking at a problem that honestly can sink even the most amazing products. It's kind of a silent killer. A lot of companies don't even see it happening until it's way too late. You've probably been there, right? You launch a big marketing campaign, you pour your heart and your budget into it, and then crickets. It just doesn't land. And that feeling, it's super common. But it's usually not just about bad ad copy. It's often a symptom of something much deeper, something strategic that's not quite right under the hood. And when that strategic piece is off, you start seeing all these painful symptoms. Low conversion rates, customers leaving, your own sales team struggling to explain what you do. These aren't just random bits of bad luck. They're all dominoes falling from that one single push: bad positioning. It almost always traces back to a shaky foundation. So what is this foundation I keep talking about? It's called positioning. And look, I'm not exaggerating when I say this is probably the single most important piece of strategy you will ever define for your company. If you get this right, literally everything else just gets easier. Now, it is absolutely critical we get this next part straight. Positioning is not your tagline. It's not your ads. That's all messaging. Positioning is the strategy that comes before all of that. Think of it this way. Positioning is the why you exist for a certain customer. Messaging is the what and the how, the words and stories you use to bring that why to life. To put it really simply, positioning is all about owning a specific piece of real estate inside your customer's head. When they have a problem you can solve, are you the first thing they think of, the best thing, the only thing? That right there is the goal of great positioning. And this is why it's so incredibly powerful. When your positioning is crystal clear, it's not just a marketing thing anymore. It becomes a compass for the entire company. Your product team knows what to build next. Your sales team knows exactly what to promise. And your marketing team knows what story to tell. Everything just clicks.
All right, so how do we actually do this? Let's get super practical and dive into a simple but seriously powerful blueprint that you can use to build your own positioning.
This template, it's a classic for a reason. It is so good because it forces you to answer the hardest, most important questions about your business, all in one sentence. Who are you for? What's their biggest problem? How do you solve it? And, crucially, what makes you different from everyone else?
And here it is in the wild. This is a classic example from Slack. Just notice how sharp and focused it is. They don't just say for teams. They say for fast-growing teams. They don't just say communication problems. They say scattered communication. That laser focus is what lets them own their category.
Okay, so once you've got that strategic positioning statement locked in, how do you turn it into a story that people actually care about? Well, this is where messaging comes in. This is about the actual words and ideas your customers are going to see and hear.
First thing to know, your messaging is not one size fits all. You need different messages for different jobs. Sometimes you need to inspire people with a big vision. Other times you have to get down to the nitty-gritty features to prove you can do the job. The best companies layer all these types together seamlessly. A really great way to think about this is using something called the value pyramid. At the very bottom, the foundation of it all is pure functional value. You have to be able to answer the customer's most basic question. What does this do for me? Does it save me time? Does it cut my costs? Does it make something annoying less annoying? But let's be real. We don't just buy things for logical reasons. So the next layer up is all about emotional value. How does your product make your customer feel? Does it make them feel more confident, less stressed? Does it give them those little moments of delight? That's a huge driver of loyalty.
And then above that, you've got social value. This is all about how using your product changes a person's relationships with other people. Does it make them look smart in front of their boss? Does it help their whole team work better together? Does it give them a sense of belonging? This is a massive motivator, especially in B2B.
And then right at the very top, the peak of the pyramid, is self-actualization. This is the most powerful stuff. Can your product actually help your customer become better at what they do? Can it help them master their craft, grow in their career, or find more meaning?
This is when you're not just selling a tool, you're selling a transformation.
Okay, so that all sounds good in theory, right? But what does it actually look like when companies do it well? Let's check out a few real-world examples from brands that have absolutely nailed this.
Just look at Notion. Their tagline, "Notion is all you need," is brilliant. It perfectly captures their positioning as the all-in-one workspace. It hits that functional value, write, plan, organize, but it also taps right into that self-actualization level, that deep desire to finally have complete control over your work and your life. And then there's Zoom. Their messaging is just relentless about hammering home their key differentiators. Remember when every video call was clunky and dropped all the time? They came in and owned the words simple, reliable, and frictionless. It was a direct answer to a universal pain point, and it made them the obvious choice.
Oh, and Airtable's message is just genius. Looks like a spreadsheet is perfect because it immediately lowers the fear barrier. It starts with something we all know, but then acts like a database, promises incredible power. In just 8 words, they perfectly explain their unique value. You get all this power, but in a package that feels easy and familiar. But remember this, great messaging is never really created in a boardroom. It's validated by real people with real data. You have to test it. A/B test your headlines, survey your users, talk to your sales team, and find out what language is actually closing deals. Even your support tickets are a goldmine of information about what's clear and what's confusing. The best messaging is always discovered, not just invented.
So that brings us here. At the end of the day, it all boils down to these 2 questions. Who, specifically, are you for? And what makes you uniquely, undeniably different and better for them? Now you have the tools and the frameworks to find your own answer and to go out there and carve your own competitive edge.